I think what everyone does at school is realise what they're good at, and especially what they're bad at. And I think I was probably best at writing. So I decided that I'd like to write for newspapers initially. So I went to university to do a media degree with business, and went to local newspapers, and from that went into several different magazines, kind of business mags, working up to commercial, and wanted to work on a football magazine. So first football mag was 95, and then started properly in 2000, and 13 years after that still here. Well, we start on a Monday. We treat it as just a weekly project, really. So come off the weekend, the major stories that have happened and off the weekend, and plan the flat plan for that, decide the content, and write very quickly, as quickly as possible, because we've got 5 days to do 68 pages. So yeah, get pages done as quickly as possible, designed, subbed, and away by Friday as our press day. Saturday the results pages get put in, printed Sunday, distributed in the lorries Monday, in the shops Tuesday. So it's quick turnaround. I think the thing with a website is that it doesn't make loads of money, and I think magazine people especially, they pay, your consumers pay for that product, so you have to see the website as pretty much a marketing tool, so to raise awareness of the printed product. That's kind of what we use the website for. And I think over the years we've realised that there's a certain amount of resource we can commit to the website, but also the realisation that with social media you'll get a new batch of potential readers from the internet and from social networking. So while it's kind of costly to run, and in terms of time, the website and things like Facebook, Twitter, it's essential really in today's magazine production. No, not at all. The harder really, the younger demographic. I mean, we're a team in our 20s, 30s, 40s, and yeah, it's the hardest thing in the world, because a 10 or 11-year-old lad is very different to what we're like. So we spend a lot of time in schools taking the magazine and asking the school kids there just to consume it, just to see how they read it, and to see what they laugh at, and to see what they like and what they don't like. And we change content depending on on that really. Yeah, it's almost the opposite really. We sort of take what we think would be a great story and then angle it at a 10, 11-year-old. Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's hard work really. I think if you asked anyone who have, it's horrible to say, oh, you've been successful, because it's not a very British thing, but yeah, I'd say it's been successful while I've been running the two magazines. And it's just hard work and determination really. If you've got those two things and apply it to a team, get a team motivated, and we're motivated to produce the best magazine, and it's not a 9-to-5 job, especially publishing. I think once you realise that and put everything you can into it, and like I said, make sure you're targeting at your reader and making sure that they're happy with the product. The worst thing is that the team thinks it's a great product and the consumer doesn't. So marrying the two together has worked over the years. Yeah, it was. Match are very protective of their brand. I wanted to try something different, and the BBC wanted me to launch a magazine. So yeah, maybe it was a kind of a brave thing. Really, it's stepping out of comfort zone, people call it, don't they? And it was definitely that. But yeah, the opportunity to work for someone different, because I think if you're just working for one organisation your whole life, you get quite blinkered. So just to kind of learn some new skills, and from working at the BBC, I did some TV work and some radio work, so it's been really good. Yeah, probably at the beginning, yeah, quite starstruck. It soon goes once you realise that you have to drive or get a train up to the northwest, say 3 or 4 or 5 hours, wait for 2 hours for the footballer to finish shopping with his wife, and turn up, say, 3 hours late, when you're kind of on your haunches and ready to collapse, but you know, you really have to get going. And when you interview, your interviewee is only as comfortable as you are kind of interviewing, I think. So you kind of really feel that you have to be engaging and awake and sort of responding to the things they say. So yeah, there's been some good interviews and some bad ones. I just seen an interview with Paul Scholes that Gary Neville did today, and interviewed Scholes about 12 years ago, and he was absolutely fine. You'd think he'd be really quiet. All you have to think of is looking at it from his perspective. What's he imagining? What does he think it's going to be like? Because he's quite a quiet person. You don't want to go in the room shouting, "Paul, Scholesy, how you doing?" like this. You don't want to pretend to be your friend. You just want him to know that it's a professional interview. You know, you can kind of speak a bit quieter and compliment him. It's always good to kind of compliment a footballer. They love that, without being too sort of. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think it's different for footballers, because if you're a musician or if you're a movie star, doing interviews helps to sell your music or the film. But as a footballer, they really don't actually like doing interviews. It means nothing to them. It's of no benefit to them. In fact, the worst thing that can happen is they get told off for saying the wrong thing. So if you just to settle them down and kind of, you know, let them know you're on your side. You know, so if they're a Man U fan, you go, "Oh, another great win, another great title for you," and yeah, it settles them down. Just, I think, people proving you wrong. Just really interesting. I think, you know, if you're a man sort of crossing the line sometimes on the football pitch, it's very different to what you like off the pitch. So Roy Keane's really genial Irishman. You know, you'd think you'd be a bit intimidated going into a room with him, but he turns up, no entourage, speaks really well, says your name back, says, "Ah, that's great, Ian," like this. And almost like you just think, this is a bit strange. Dennis Wise at Chelsea sat down having a nice pot of tea, and it's quite typical for, you know, people to rush round after him or anyone else at the time, but he sort of sat me down and said, can I get you a cup of tea, Ian? I get on really well with Owen. Yeah, I mean, just I seem to follow his career and just see him all over the place. So I used to cover the Northwest for Match, so I used to see him kind of every week. So he'd sort of wave, and you know, as I'd be coming along, and he knew that I was going to interview him. And in terms of, I don't think he'd ever say, "I only want Ian to interview me," or anything like that. But there's a few things that I could definitely reveal about him, you know, that would be of interest. But you know, nothing scandalous, but that he'd have a laugh at. It's a lot more commercialised. It's a really big money business now. I mean, when I first came into it, the first thing I had to do was I was given a list of 45 players' names with mobile numbers, and just told to work down the list. So this is kind of mid-90s to 2000, and the accessibility, you could just phone anyone at home. Let's say, "Here's Teddy Sheringham's phone number, can you give him a call?" Run through a few features, and every single person was really happy to do it. "Yeah, no problem, yeah, we'll do that," for Match magazine it was at the time. And now you have to go through the club and the player agent, and yeah, it's kind of big business. And I think footballers, the change really is that footballers are kind of so far away from the man on the street, you know, because it's become that commercialised. I interviewed Pele. That was pretty amazing, just because he's such a humble man. I kind of sat at a good distance from him, you know, as kind of respectful distance that, you know, you don't like to get too close in people's personal space. And he just pulled up his chair and sat kind of this distance away, and just was really happy to talk about football. Not sure he understood every question I asked, but really humble man considering how famous he is and well known around the world. It was, yeah, a real kind of pleasure to talk to him about football and the great sides of the past and what he thought about the current players and which Brazil players he liked and which English players could get in the Brazilian team. It was great.
So you're quite humbling to interview the greatest player?
Yeah, greatest player of all time. Yeah, but yeah, in terms of like over the years, I think you get the novelty of interviewing a footballer, and then it very much becomes your job.